friends. Welcome back to episode 4 of Step Into Your Greatness with me, Kristin King. I hope you're all doing well and enjoying the year so far. It's been quite some time since I've released an episode, and I feel as though I would just want to explain why. Before I do that, though, Step Into Your Greatness was really created as a way for you and me and every woman listening here to obtain some really incredible information to allow them to be able to expand who they're being in their lives, how they're showing up for themselves as well as for others, the people we care about most. And this episode is not what I was planning on doing. Before I jump into the topic for today, which is our attachments, the things we are attached to, I just wanted to share a little bit about where I've been because it's been quite some time, and I don't want anyone to think that I'm flaking out or any of that, but it's more just what's been going on in my personal life. In January, the very beginning part of the month, in fact, right after I released my last episode, episode 3, which was such a great one. Please check it out if you haven't yet. I got really sick. I felt this throat thing coming on a Friday, and it took me out, and it took my family out. And about 5 days after I started getting sick, we also got a new puppy, and maybe eventually she'll get to make her way onto the show. But for now, I will just tell you that we were not intending or planning to get a puppy, but this incredible opportunity came up, and I feel like this little girl was meant to be ours. And so we said yes, and we did it. And then with that comes the learning for me, especially because my husband was away. I was sick and taking care of my sick children with a new puppy, being up multiple times per night for the kids, for the dog, for myself. It was a really eventful month. So I really started off 2023 with a bang. Not the one I had anticipated, but isn't that always the way, right? We think we have a plan, and then a different plan shows up, which actually segues nicely into today, because in the midst of being sick, I had fully planned episode 4 out. I had typed it out. I had recorded it on my phone to listen back to myself, to really learn and integrate before bringing it to the forefront. And this has happened a couple times now, but just today in the shower, I thought of this topic, the one that I'm bringing to today. So the episode I had planned originally to do for episode 4, that will come another day when I feel like it's more important. But for today, I felt like what came to me was relevant, and so I wanted to share. I wanted to talk about it. It seemed like the right direction to go for this conversation. And so today we're actually going to talk about our attachments to the things of the past, the things that we may still holding or feeling connected to emotionally, mentally. There's a tie there. There's something there that is continuing to perpetuate itself into our future, into the way we feel in our future relationships, our future careers, our future path, whatever that might be, whatever our focus point is, where we're really bringing the past into how we're feeling, into our fears, we're projecting it into our future, and how that can really, really prevent us from creating the future that we want. It can just create more of the same. A lot of times these things that we're holding on to, these attachments, are things we should have let go of so long ago, or we really need to look within and see if this is still serving us in our life. And if it's not, to do the work that is necessary to be done on our attachments of the past so we can let it go, so we can learn from it, and so we can move forward. I wanted to give you a process to work on in this teaching and with this episode. So please stay until the end so you get all the information, and then spend the time doing the work for you on your own personal attachments, the things that are still impacting your future, that are remnants from the past, things you're attached to from the past, and just kind of seeing what comes up. Staying really curious. No one's here to judge. We're not having an opinion about it, but just be curious, which is something I talk about a lot with my coaching clients. Staying curious and really coming from a place of love and openness as you're just inquiring. You're just looking deeper at why that's still there for you. Are you gaining anything from it? Or is it really preventing you from the future that you're trying to create or a goal that you have set? And I'll give you some examples along the way. They were really impactful for me and they were really negatively impacting my future. Just some examples to kind of play with in your own mind. And I'm sure that some things will come up just in hearing the shares here. So now we're going to jump into a 6-step process that will be very easy for you to implement as you're looking at your own situation and where you're at and kind of learning from the experiences of the past, the attachments to the past that may still be with you today. The first one is that we have to become clear. We have to become clear on what we might still be attached to. So maybe it's a past relationship. Maybe it's someone that you feel like really wronged you or really hurt you or really didn't come through in the way that you expected they should, or you expected eventually they'd figure it out and they would. Maybe it's a situation in your life, something that happened to you. I have relationships from my own past, one in particular that I really let negatively influence my future relationships after it ended because I was still very emotionally attached to that person. I felt like it should have worked out. He should have, got it together. He should have treated me as more of a priority in his life. And ultimately that wasn't the case. He wasn't supposed to do any of those things. But for years, my attachments to that relationship just perpetuated the types of relationships I got into, the type of men that I attracted, and the people that I dated. It carried forward into my life in a really big way. It could be a relationship with a friend or an experience with your job. I was thinking earlier about my own career path. I was in corporate America for 10 plus years, taking job after job. I was in sales for a very long time. I did a number of other things as well. But in one of those positions, I was recruiting for oil and gas, and I was let go. I was fired after 6 months because I wasn't producing to their expectations and what they needed their recruiters to be producing. And that situation, that experience for me where I was let go when I went into work and I made 100 phone calls a day and they were tracking the phone ringing. So they knew how many calls each recruiter was making. I was making all these phone calls. I was documenting my work. I was making connections, talking to people, trying to line up clients with new job positions. And also connecting with companies as well to set those relationships up. I was working my tail off, and when I got fired, I was devastated. I mean, I worked so hard, and I brought that fear, that shame, just everything that I had experienced through that process of being let go. I brought that into my next job. My next job was an incredible opportunity in sales with a startup company. I mean, I love this company. It was amazing, but I was so stressed and so scared of being fired again that I remember going to sleep at night in tears because I couldn't close that deal, or that person hadn't called me back. It hadn't come through for me, and I felt like it should have, or I really thought I would hear from the person. And I was so scared. I brought so much fear into that experience for myself that it had a massive negative impact on how I felt within a job that I truly loved, with a company that I grew a ton from. I mean, I was with them for years, but I think about the extra stress I put on myself on top of it from bringing my attachments from that past experience where I was let go into the job opportunity I had at that time. Also, with these attachments, it's worth mentioning that so much of the time we are learning a lot in this process of who we're becoming as women, how we're growing, how we're expanding. And now I can see it from a new lens, from a new set of eyes. And as a coach, I can see it as all of what I learned, the thick skin I grew from these opportunities, from these experiences. So to stay connected to my attachments, to anger, to they wronged me, I shouldn't have been fired, I was working so hard, I actually can see now what a blessing that was in my life, because it brought me to the next great job opportunity that I described to you. And although I felt massively stressed in it because I didn't have any of this work back then, I felt massively stressed in how I was doing it. I look at all that I learned from a sales standpoint, from a marketing standpoint, from a relationship standpoint, from just volume and goals and just high quotas and just so many things that I learned along the way because I had that experience. Because I was let go from one job, I was able to get the next job. And what I learned that then when I left corporate America, I was able to take into entrepreneurship. When I opened a gym, when I was selling gym memberships, when I was growing a new business from the ground up, never having done that before, and learning along the way, that thick skin, that like tenacity, that determination, man, it helped me so much. Because then in 2020, the gym was shut down and I had to rebuild my business once again. So I built a business over the span of just a few years, twice from the ground up. I had to start over. So I think about that now with so much appreciation and gratitude. And if I was still stuck in my attachments to how it shouldn't have happened, how they shouldn't have let me go, I never would be where I am today. Same with relationships, the example I gave earlier. Like if I wasn't able to, for me, I actually moved very far away from all of my past relationships that didn't serve me. In my past, I moved and very quickly after met the most amazing man who I am now married to. So it worked out very, very well for me, although I was not aware of this work at the time and how my attachments, I was perpetuating that into my future relationships. For me, the geographic relocation of moving, of getting away and being able to meet new people, be a different person in a brand new city, in a new environment. It was kind of like a clean slate for my relationships. I was able to do that for myself without even knowing, without knowing I was doing it. I'm so grateful that it worked out the way that it did. All right, so the first step in the process is becoming aware. I want you to take out paper and a pen. I want you to spend some time. Pause this video if you need to. Come back and listen to it again if that serves you. Repetition is really, really powerful for us. We really need to hear things multiple times for them to really sink in. The brain is starting to kind of show you or give you information that maybe you wouldn't have if you hadn't re-listened. So we will get the information and process it differently. The more we continue to listen, the more we go back, the more we think like, where am I still attached to some of the experiences, some of the events, some of the things maybe I did. Maybe you view ending a relationship as something you shouldn't have done. You're still attached to it because you feel like maybe you made a wrong choice. Or maybe something happened where you're still beating yourself up. Why are you still attached to that thing and letting that thing negatively influence your future? Maybe something happened long ago where you thought like, well, that was stupid. And then you're bringing that thought of I do stupid things, I don't make the right choices. You're bringing that into your future. It's still influencing who you are as a woman today. So I want you to really look at your experiences from the past, the things that have happened to you that maybe at the time you were devastated. And maybe to some degree you're still attached to that today. It's still having a negative impact in who you are in here and how you're moving forward into your life. So I want you to spend some time being super honest. No judgments in this space, just love for all of us, right? We are here to serve and support. That's why this information is really powerful. So I want you to just take some time, pause the video, spend some time asking questions like, do I still harbor some negative attachments to an experience of the past, a relationship with X, Y, or Z? That friend where we had that major falling out and I never felt like I could really forgive and move on, but we're still friends today, so I still always have my guard up. Like, really be inquisitive as to the attachment that you still hold, because that attachment is only negatively influencing you. that person is still living their life and doing their thing. That thing is still operating, it's still happening, it's still moving forward, but it's you who is having this negative experience and bringing it into your future because of that attachment to the past. So just be really honest, spend some time. All right, the second step. And because I'm looking down because I had jotted some notes down before recording this video here. But again, I just thought of this morning and I really thought this information was important to bring to all of you. So the second part of the step is write down how this is influencing your life right now. So if you have an attachment to the past, and we're just inquiring here, how might it be impacting your current and future life? Thinking about relationships since that relationship that broke your heart. Is that attachment still drawing in the same types of people, creating the same sort of situation or stories for you that are not what you want, right? You're still looking for that person, or you're still trying to find those friendships, those relationships that are really conducive to who you are now as a woman and this place you're at in your life right now. So just be really open to writing about how your past attachments that you've identified are influencing your life right now. The third part of the process is write how you would feel without this attachment. Not what you would think, how you would feel. How would this be for you in here, in your heart, if you did not harbor this attachment to this thing from the past? The fourth part of this process is what you can do now to let this go. What needs to happen? Because remember, this is within your control. This is your attachment. We're not talking about other people. We're not talking about an external experience here. We're talking about you and what's going on inside of you. All of this personal development work is looking within, not looking out here. Our outside world is a projection of our inside world, okay? So we're looking in here. What can you do in order to let this attachment go? Could you look at this as a learning? Could you see the blessing, like I told you about when I got fired from my job all those years ago and how I carried that into my next really great opportunity in sales? Could you see this as an incredible growing opportunity with which you have really grown, changed, learn, understand what you need in relationships because of all of the ones you've dated before right now? Now you know. Now you have this awareness to be able to move forward in a much more powerful way, a much more loving and connected way, instead of moving forward with your guard up, waiting for the next disappointing person to come along and again perpetuate this experience we've been carrying with us for years. The fifth part of this process is I want for you to make a new decision. So many of the most positive things we have done for ourselves in our lives, even unknowingly, was because we made a decision to do it. I bet you could look back right now at your own life and you could think, yeah, I really hated that job, and so I decided to get a new job. I left the job and I started looking and I just went out and got a new job. It was no big deal. I made a decision and I did it. Or, hey, this friendship really isn't serving me anymore. In fact, it makes me feel kind of crappy. I think maybe I'm going to just slowly distance myself, and I'm going to be open to meeting new women, new experiences, new people that are more conducive to who I'm becoming and the woman I'm growing into. And then you just make a new decision to go make some new friends. So think about the decisions you've made in your life, and then think about, based on your attachments and what you're identifying today, think about the new decisions you would like to make around these situations, these things that happened in your life, so that you can move forward with a new solid decision that makes you feel really good about it. So I also made some new decisions myself before hitting record on this video that I just wanted to share with you for those of you who may not really know how to make a new decision or not know how to articulate it or write it down on paper. So I've decided that my relationships have all been a learning process and a period of growth for me in my own life. And with that newfound awareness, I can attract the next beautiful relationship into my life. The next new decision I wrote down here, I've decided that all of my jobs properly equipped me to have the knowledge, the skill set, the thick skin that I needed in order to go into business for myself. And what you're going to do in the 6th step of this process is you're going to write down the freedom and the peace you will now feel when you are no longer attached to this thing anymore, or this situation, or this person. When you can just move forward from a much more positive standpoint, recognizing that through your own awareness and through this process, you are severing the ties. You are moving forward. You are no longer going to let that negatively impact or influence your future life. So, to wrap up this video and this process, let's go through it once again, okay? Again, please write these steps down, write this process down, and go through this for yourself. Nobody can help you create change in your life except for you. That's why this work matters, and that's why it's really important for you to spend the time on it. Whether you set 30 minutes in the evening aside for yourself, or first thing in the morning when you first wake up, it's easiest for us when we can make this a habit and something we do on a regular basis, a daily basis. So it really has the ability to become an ingrained part of who we are, to look within, to help us start feeling better, to help us start understanding why we've been feeling awful for so long or stressed for so long, right? How we can move forward in a much more powerful way. So, to reiterate this process before we wrap up episode 4, and thank you so much for listening today, because I just genuinely appreciate you being here and getting this information as it was downloaded to me, and I wanted to bring it to you this afternoon. But getting really clear on your attachments from your own past. What areas of your life are not working the way that you would like for them to be working right now? There's probably an attachment there, or a story there, or something from the past still having an influence on you that's not serving you anymore. So be really honest with yourself and look within. The second part of the process, write how this is influencing your life right now. How is this attachment from the past still influencing you? Becoming really clear on that, and being really open to just seeing what comes in as you're writing, as you're getting this down. The third part, write how you would feel without this attachment in your life. How will you feel once you move forward from it? The next one, what can you do to let this go? How could you look at it differently? How could you view it as a major learning in your own life? How can you see all the growth and beautiful things that have come since this experience, since this past situation or this event in your life happened, in who you are as a woman today? Number 5 is I want you to make a new decision. Make a new decision for yourself that feels really good. It helps to reinforce freedom and peace within you. And number 6 is write about that freedom and peace. Write about how you feel now that you've moved through this attachment. Now that you've become aware, you understand it, you're looking at it through a new lens, and you're no longer going to let it dictate your future. All right, that's it for today. Thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate you tuning in for this episode on attachments. Please share this show with a friend who you feel would really connect with this information, who could really be served and helped by the content I'm bringing here to you 2.0. Step into your greatness. This truly is an opportunity for all of us. And if we can just consider all of this incredible information through a new lens, through new eyes, through a new, more open heart, with a lot more grace for ourselves and this process that we're in, this journey, this life that we're living, we can start to shift. We can think differently. We can feel better when we're thinking differently about these things that happened to us, these attachments from the past. And it can really positively serve who we're becoming as we step into our greatness. Thank you again, and have an awesome day. I'll see you next time.